Okay, in this video we're going to have a look at a calculating reactant mass calculation. And in order to do this, we're going to be using our Mr. Moles triangle that's over here, and we're going to use that in a couple of the steps. So I've written that down for our reference. And let's get a start with this. So we read the information, and we've got a lot of chemicals in the equation, but we're only going to deal with two of these depending on the information above. Okay, so the question says calculate the mass of carbon dioxide. So we've been asked to find how much carbon dioxide there is. So I'm going to circle that because we need to find that. You could obtain by adding an excess, I'm going to come back to that word in a minute, of hydrochloric acid to 15 grams of calcium carbonate. So I'm also interested in the calcium carbonate, and it's telling me that I have got 15 grams of the calcium carbonate that's reacting. Before we get into the calculation, let's have a quick look at this, the excess. Why do I need to know there's an excess of hydrochloric acid? That's because I need to make sure there's enough of this in order to make all 15 grams of the calcium carbonate to react. So by providing an excess, we're allowing the 15 grams to react fully. Right, onto the calculation. So my first job is I've got 15 grams of calcium carbonate, and what I want to do here is convert that into moles. I want to know how many moles that I have. So the first job is moles of calcium carbonate. And the moles of calcium carbonate, according to the triangle, is going to be the mass divided by the MR for calcium carbonate. The mass is 15 from the question. The MR, let's just take a second over here. So I've got the MR for calcium carbonate. There is one calcium whose mass is 40. There's a carbon in there whose mass is 12. And there's 3 lots of oxygen. Each oxygen is 16. So that gives me a total of 48. Add those up and I get a total of 100. So the MR is 100. So here I've got 15 divided by 100, and that's going to give me 0.15 moles of calcium carbonate. Step 2 is we're going to use the ratio. This is called the stoichiometry of the question from the equation, and you can see in the equation I've got 1 mole of calcium carbonate is reacting to make 1 mole of carbon dioxide. So in this one it's fairly straightforward. 1 lot of calcium carbonate is making 1 mole of carbon dioxide. We've just worked out that we have got 0.15 moles of calcium carbonate, and therefore I'm going to have 0.15 moles of carbon dioxide because the ratio is 1 to 1. Okay. Next step, let's give myself a little bit more room here. The next step, then, step number 3, the final step, is I know that I have got 0.15 moles of carbon dioxide. What I need to do now is convert that to a mass. So this step is working out the mass of carbon dioxide. Again, using a triangle, I can see that mass is equal to the MR times the moles. The MR for carbon dioxide, we'll do that over here. So the MR for CO2 is 1 lot of carbon, 2 lots of oxygen is 16 for each one. That gives me 32. Add them up and it becomes 44. So the MR is 44 times by 0.15 moles, and that gives me an answer of 6.6 grams of carbon dioxide will be produced.